Today I'm going to talk about two words that changed my life. But first of all, I'm going to share a little story to illustrate what those two words are all about. And this story is about a guy called Robert. And Robert had just been going through some really cool things in his life. He'd been able to apply for a job as an accountant's aide in a firm in the city of Sydney, working a 9-to-5 job, and then on the side he was able to get some hours working behind the bar. And it was behind the bar that Rob, we'll call him Bob, that Bob got the opportunity to talk to a patron. And he remembered it really clearly. One day this bronzed patron walked in with these cream slacks and this sort of open shirt, and this patron said to Bob, look, I'm here in Sydney and I'm really wanting to sort of see the sights before I jump on my yacht and I head off to New Zealand, and I'm going to go there and just sort of sail from there and on and see the world, and I love my life and I love my yacht. And anyway, so Bob thought, wow, this is pretty cool. That sounds really inspirational. And actually, this idea really started to click in his mind. And over a period of time, he really started to fixate on getting his own yacht and seeing the world. And so he worked longer hours. And he said to his manager, both with the accountancy as well as at the bar, sign me up for any overtime. And so he worked overtime and he started to save some money, which was really exciting for him. He took sailing lessons and he went out on Sydney Harbour and really sort of got into sailing, and he started to think about this great yacht that he was going to have, and this sort of ability to, maybe meet a girl of his dreams in the future and take her on his yacht and show her the world as well. And so he worked and worked and worked, and the day finally came and he was standing on the deck of his yacht, wheel in hand, a beautiful Oyster 495. And as he stood there and as he thought to himself, okay, I'm off to Fiji, and then where do I go from there? And he stopped and he paused and he thought to himself, where do I go to there? What do I do next? I've got to this point, and now I ask myself the question, where to from here? And it's at that point that Bob realised that he actually was no closer to achieving what he wanted than that first day in the bar when he sat and listened to the bronze stranger tell him about his yacht. Because Bob didn't have a moral compass to help guide him towards what it was that he really wanted to achieve from this goal. He didn't understand the why behind that what, behind that I'm going to jump in the yacht, I'm going to head off. And so these two words that I was talking about, these two words that really changed my life are love and health. Now, love and health, out of interest, are my top two values. And it's really important, and I think about the longevity program, and I think about what I'm trying to achieve with the longevity program, and what I try to achieve, not just for the longevity program, but for anything in my life. And those two words, love and health, my top two values, drive me towards whatever it is that I want to achieve. And so if I think about the longevity program, for example, love for myself, for my wife, for my family, and for my fellow man. And if I think about, if I'm going to live long and strong and be happy within myself, then I will absolutely be meeting that value of love, certainly for myself and looking after myself and feeling great in what I'm doing. And health is my number two value, and obviously if I'm living a happy and healthy life, then and that's what the longevity program is all about, then I'm meeting that value. So I'm going to share a quote from Brené Brown, and Brené does some awesome work. If you haven't read her work, then I would highly recommend it. And this is Brené's definition of a value, and there are so many definitions kicking around, but I really like this one, and I'm just going to read it to you. So it says, a value is a way of being or believing that we hold most important. Living into our values mean that we do more than profess our values, we practice them. We walk our talk. We're clear about what we believe and hold important, and we take care that our intentions, our words, our thoughts, and our behaviours align with those beliefs. I think that's a really awesome quote. And in terms of values and what I look to achieve with values, I would suggest before doing anything with the longevity program for me, I had to make sure that I was really focused and intentional on what it is that I value. Because if I didn't, or if I don't understand what it is that I value, how can I possibly move towards whatever goal that it is and get there and then really enjoy that and really make sure that I've hit the mark, I've hit the target. And so what I would suggest, and what worked for me, this is something I would suggest if you have time after watching this, then if you haven't done this sort of thing before, give it a crack, is first and foremost identify what it is that you value right now. Now, for the moment, don't think about what it is that you might want to value, because what you might want to value could very well be completely different to what it is that you value now. And here, you've got to look in that mirror and be super intentional and super honest with yourself about what it is that you value. So, I would suggest, what I did, is write down what are the things that you value right now, as that snapshot in your life. And if you think to yourself, well, I don't really know what I value, I just kind of go along in life and I do what I do, I would suggest a really great place to start is to have a look at where you spend your time. Because if you're unconscious about what it is that you value, I would suggest where you're spending your time, you are valuing. Now, you mightn't think that you're valuing that, but where you spend your time is absolutely what you're valuing at this point in time. So when I went through this exercise for the first time, for example, I identified a number of values that I held really high. One of the values, for example, that I held when I first went through a values exercise was the value of winning. And another one was health. Health has always been there in a fairly major way for me. And love was a little bit further down. Now, this was really interesting because as I went through that and thought to myself, okay, well, that's what I value right now. Well, then the next part of what I went through was, is that what I want to value in the future? What sort of person do I want to be in the future? And what will I value in the future? And that was a super interesting exercise, because as I went through that exercise of, okay, what is it that I currently value and what is it that I want to value? What type of person do I want to be in the future? Oh man, that was a pivotal moment in my life, because I identified that this thing called winning, which is one of the top values that I had. In fact, I think from memory it was the number 2 value at the time. This thing called winning, it actually really didn't serve me. It didn't serve me at all, because what it meant was that, for example, if I was in a meeting and I was interacting with a bunch of colleagues, and if they didn't agree with what I said, then I would feel that was going against my value. I wasn't winning. And that caused all sorts of problems. It caused unnecessary stress on me, because I was thinking, well, wait a minute, I need to be winning in this situation. I always need to be on top. It didn't give me the opportunity to do the best work that I could do, and it didn't allow me to incorporate their thoughts, feelings and emotions into whatever it was that I was doing. So really it was a lose-lose-lose. So I identified that was not a value that I wanted to maintain ongoing. And rather, I identified, and I know them straight away off the top of my head, my top 2. And Brene goes on later, and I'm going to paraphrase and probably murder what she was saying, but she says those top 2 values really need to be an indelible part of what you do. They are absolutely ingrained in everything that you do. And so when I looked at it, I thought to myself, okay, there are 2 values that I know that I want to live into the future. And as I said, the number 1 value was love, and the number 2 value is health. Now, out of interest, the number 3 value for me is growth, and the number 4 value is wealth. So with those 4 values, and I would suggest absolutely with those top 2 values, they're now my North Star. They're now whenever I make a decision, and this is the great thing about doing this values work, about identifying what it is that you want in your values. So in identifying this North Star, in identifying these top 2 values, and then being able to go into 3 and 4, they really help in being able to make any decision at all that I make into the future. And once again, I'll bring this back momentarily into a work situation for those of you who are going through work challenges or thoughts at the moment. And I remember really clearly working with a really lovely colleague of mine, and we were making a decision at that stage on how we would price products. And it really helped at that stage for us to know what it was as a company that we valued. So what were the top values that we had? And then once we knew the top values that we had, every time we went to make a pricing decision, we would ask ourselves, well, are we meeting those top values? So bring that back into my personal life and think about anything that I do at all. If it's not meeting my value of love, and if it's not meeting my value of health, or indeed further, not meeting my value of growth or wealth, if it's not meeting those values, then why am I doing it? And it really, once you've done this, it makes decisions so easy, because you can always just come back and ask yourself, am I meeting those values? Am I meeting those values? It's like a compass that you have and that you can use every single time. So that upfront work, which takes a little bit of time to go through, saves you so much time, it saves you so much energy, it saves you so much stress, because you are super clear on what it is that you value. And I tell you, I use my values every single day. And it's no extension of the truth to say that those 2 words, love and health, fundamentally changed my life once I identified just how important they were to me. So, the Longevity Program, it's all about what it is that you value and how you're going to implement it. And that's why when I'm sharing all of this learning, I'm not saying, well, you must, for example, meditate, or you must intermittent fast, or you must. Because ultimately, what works for me may well not work for you. It may not align with your values and what you're looking to achieve. I'm just sharing my own experiences, and I'm sharing how those experiences link in with the values of what I want to achieve. That said, if you look at what I'm doing and you think I'd like to incorporate that, if you don't have your own sense of values, your own why, it may well be that you try something for a while, but then it doesn't link with your values. Either you'll know that consciously, or you will know it through what you do unconsciously, and it won't stick. So, values, super important. And if you haven't already done so, I would highly recommend you go through a values identification exercise. Just write down your values on a sheet of paper. Have a look at, that's what I live right now. Is that what I want to live in the future? And then go from there. Give it a try, see how it goes. And yeah, all the very, very best with that. So until next time, live long, live strong.